X Factor Nation, what's good? We're here for a very, very exciting video. NBA season coming out this week. We want to look at the over-unders set by Vegas and throw our 2 cents into it. So I'm here with Fred. I'm here with Troy, like always. How we doing?
Good.
Hey man,
How are you?
you see it.
Dude,
Hey,
I've been looking forward to this video. I cannot wait.
Yeah.
I'm not good. I'm just having a rough day, but nothing cheers me up like some X Factor content.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
We've been pumping out a lot of content. As you guys already know, the NBA season does tip off tonight with some 76ers and Boston Celtic game at 7:30. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful basketball game. And then we got the ring ceremony. The Golden State Warriors take on my Los Angeles Lakers. Cannot wait for tomorrow night. It's going to be such a fun year. And as you've already seen, the award predictions are out. Our conference predictions are out. Now it's time to dive a little deeper into the win total props that Vegas has set for all the teams across the board. We will quickly get into each and every one of them. We're going off a point system. For every one that we get right, we get a point. And then we have 5 locks, if you will. We can give them a point total between 2 and 5, and then we have one that we give 10 points to. So we dish out, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then the big one with the 10. So let's dive right in. Just the Atlanta Hawks. The win total prop is set at 46 wins straight. Typically, they have a hook of a half, but this Hawk one does not. Interested to see where everybody goes. Fred, we'll start with you.
I'm so excited about this Atlanta Hawks team, man. I'm going to take the over. I think they win more than 46 games this year. I love what they did in the offseason. I think they have built around Trae Young beautifully, keeping John Collins in. And a guy I'm super excited about, as always, Clint Capella. I know it's kind of a weird guy to always be excited about, but I love his game. I love what he brings to an offense and defense, especially to a young team, a guy who's been in the playoffs with Houston. Bring that veteran presence, and he's just consistently good. And you bring in a guy like DeJounte Murray, a guy who's really focused on defense and scoring the ball, and he's just, I think, is just a complete player. To pair him alongside an all-star like Trae Young, I think it's just a match made in heaven. I think they win over 46 games.
Fred's going the over. Caleb, where are you going?
I've always been the Hawks' biggest critic, as Troy, very, very
Same.
well.
I was on Troy's case about it.
Yeah. And so the Eastern Conference predictions, I put them fairly high. I've heard a lot of NBA analysts be not so high on the Hawks like I thought a lot of people would be. It makes me very nervous. But for the first time in a long time, I'm high on the Hawks. So I feel like I just have to go with the over here. So I'm going to agree with Fred. I picked the over.
Yeah, and the biggest Hawk fan of them all is going with the under. I said in our Eastern Conference video, I thought that they would finish just in the 7th spot, so just outside of the locks in the playoffs. So I have them finishing under 46 wins. That's a lot of wins, man. That's almost. You're 3 games away from 50 wins. That's a whole lot of wins. That's top end of the conference, maybe even top 4 or 5. And I just don't have them there, so I had to go with.
And you got to think too, just an improved Eastern Conference too. I mean, they're going to be put to a gauntlet.
Eastern Conference, like there's a lot of teams that have made improvements. Like obviously, we'll get into it later. We see maybe some falling off with like the Heat. Maybe we don't know, but maybe the Heat fall off a little bit. Maybe the Raptors. Maybe
the Bulls.
Yeah, the Bulls are a team that a lot of people may see fall off, but. Who knows? This Eastern Conference is filled with question marks. And we dive into another maybe question mark, the Celtics. Their win total is one of the highest on the board, if not the highest, at 54.5 wins, meaning they would have to win 55 wins to cash the over there. Caleb, what do you think?
This one was tough for me. I'm going to go under just by a little bit. Like I still think the Celtics have the talent to be one of the best teams in the East, as we've seen, with our prediction videos earlier. But 55 wins is a whole lot, and it concerns me a little bit. But I'm going to go under, but just by a little bit.
Fred?
This is a team I'm really down on, so I'm actually going to lock this one as an under.
Wow.
And I put a point. What do I do? Put my 10 on it?
That's up to you. It depends.
If you're that most confident, yeah.
It has to be your most.
It's gonna be my most confident. I'm gonna put a 10er on it.
Wow.
I don't think the Celtics are gonna win 55 games this year. I think I think the front office issue and the coaching change and all of that, I think it's going to have some effect. I know they brought in Malcolm Brogdon. They've done these things, but I don't believe that they can go back to what they did last year. I don't have them as a top seed this year. I just don't believe in Boston. That's when we'll put my 10 lock on them. Just not confident at all. And I'm the most confident in them going under 54.5 games because that is a lot of wins.
It is a lot of wins. You look at the Eastern Conference last year, they had no team that went over 54 wins. They didn't have a team that went over 53 wins. The Miami Heat won 53, the Celtics won 51. I too am going with the under, a sweep of the under for the Celtics. So you know what that means. They're easily cashing over. So moving on to the Nets, I will take this one. The over-under is set at 50.5, and I actually have them. This is one of those. I was getting into it with the guys before we hopped in. I had the 76ers under 50.5 last year. 50.5 was the win total prop for the 76ers last year. I had their under, and in the last game of the year, they won, and it cashed their over. It lost me some money. That's exactly what I think is going to happen with the Nets. They're going to cash it late on in the year, maybe even their last game. I'm rolling with their over. I have them finishing in the top 4 of the conference, and if it holds true to the records last year, that is just over 50 wins. So I have them going over. And we will go to Caleb. Caleb, what do you think?
That's what makes me real nervous. I can't trust the Nets just yet. I'll go under just because I think there's so many questions, and I feel like a lot of questions have to be answered in order to win 51 games. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're obviously very, very capable, but I'm going to go under just to stay safe here.
Brett?
I'm going to take the over as well. I'm really high in the Brooklyn Nets this year. I think Kevin Durant is going to come in locked in. I think he's going to play with something to prove. Same with Ben Simmons, man. I know a lot of people like to rag on him, but I think he's going to come in and do a lot of good things for them. I don't think he's going to have to be the primary guy, and I think that's going to help him a lot. And just the pressure being out of the pressure he felt while being in Philadelphia is off his shoulders. So I think he can, really find a role with the 2 budding stars in Kyrie and KD. And then you add in guys like Nick Claxton. I mean, I think this team's going to win a lot of games, and I'll definitely take over 50.5.
So the Nets there last year, we were getting into this again, 56.5 was their win prop. So if you're a believer in a bounce back year for the Nets, you're really getting it at a discount compared to what their roster was last year. And
I think like their big thing last year was depth. And I think they've kind of, I don't think they've hit on it like to a point where it's like they're going to be the outright first seed, but I think they've done enough to put them into a top echelon team.
I harped a lot last year on the Nets with their defensive presence. And I think Ben Simmons really with Nicholas Claxton starting to step into a more defined role. I think that more so is the story for me, where they'll be able to lock in on that side of the ball a little bit better than last year and really impact winning, because defense impacts winning.
And they address bench scoring. They got TJ Warren. They brought in a 3-and-D guy like Royce O'Neal. Like, you have these guys in place. Joe Harris is healthy. So it's going to be a fun team to watch, man. And you always got Seth Curry lighting it up. So I'm excited for that team.
Moving on to the Hornets, they haven't kept themselves out of the news for a lot of legal issues this summer. James Bouknight, the most recent. And their win prop, man, is showing true, losing Miles Bridges and potentially James Bouknight. It's actually dropped since we locked it in, but we got it locked in at 36.5 wins. So Caleb, I'll go to you.
This is my lock for the 10 spot.
Wow.
Hornets under. I don't like this Hornets team this year. I think there's a lot of controversy with this team as well. LaMelo not going to be there start of the season. I just think this is a team that has the pieces to be a team that's trying to buy a couple pieces to help them make a deep playoff run. I'm not high on it. 36.5. I'm going under, and I'm locking it in at my 10 seed or my 10 spot.
It's so strange with the Hornets, because you would think of a young team like them last year, finally getting into the play-in spot, winning 43 games. Like, you think like this year would be like, okay, now it's time for them to take that next step into 45, 46, 47 wins, maybe the top 6 in the conference, top 7. But it's really been the opposite for the Hornets, man. They're having terrible luck. So Fred, where are you rolling?
I'm actually going to hit the under on this as well. I totally agree with Caleb. I think that roster, even in the Eastern Conference video, when I put them, higher, I think I had them maybe 11 or 10 or 11, one of the two. And when I was looking at their roster, even after the video, I was like, do I even think they're going to be that good? I mean, you look outside of LaMelo Ball and you look at what you have. I mean, you have an aging Gordon Hayward. I mean, you get things from – you got a question mark in Dennis Smith. You have Terry Rozier. Like, it's not a good roster, and I feel like they've done a really poor job building around LaMelo so far. I know he's still young, so they've got time to, ground to make up on that. But I'm going to take the under. I just think they're going to be I expect, like Caleb said, LaMelo not being there to start the season. It's just, I think it's going to be a downward spiral for them. And I mean, you could be even looking at a 14-15 seed if they.
I think it's important that we realize, like, we have no clue how many teams are really going to try to buy into Tank for Wembanyama. Like, this is a team that potentially, I think, is going to just be all in on just dropping and dropping and dropping. So that was
imagine him with LaMelo Ball. I'm sure that Hornets front office is like, oh my God, imagine these two together. And because you got to look at that roster, if you're that front office, Michael Jordan, guys like that, be like, we're not going to win this year. You lost Miles Bridges, who had an insane year last year up to his standards. Like, that's a key loss.
Yeah, I too am locking in the under with my 2-point lock. I'm using my smallest lock on this one just because I could see a scenario where they somehow squeak out 37, 38 wins. So I don't want to fully go all in on that one, even though I do think it is a very, very nice bet for those of you that are into all that. Moving on to the Bulls, the over-under prop is set at 43.5, and it's actually at plus money. And guess what? This is where I lock in another lock of mine. It's a 3-point lock for me on the over. I am in on the Bulls this year. I have been through the video. I have them as a top 5 seed in the East. They're my sleeper to win the East if they make some moves, if they get healthy, if they're able to do some things. I just love their roster. I think they do nothing but improve. Fred, I believe, had Patrick Williams as a sleeper for most improved player of the year. I think that this team can be really, really good. I think Vucevic in that system, just continuing to grow, continuing to get better. DeMar DeRozan, I don't think he takes a step back like a lot, may believe. I think he can still be a 20 to 23 point per game scorer. And I love their, supporting cast. I'm pretty sure Caleb's high on Kobe White too. So, I mean, we got some dudes there that can really, really put the ball in the bucket as well as get it done on the other side of the ball. So I am in on the Bulls. I am rolling with their over 43.5 wins. And Fred, will go to you.
Yeah, man, I love the over on them as well. I love their roster. I mean, you got an injection of youth as well as just awesome veteran presence. You got Goran Dragic, you got Andre Drummond, guys like that on that roster. I really want Lonzo to be healthy. I mean, if Lonzo's healthy, I think this team, and you look at the outlook of it, I mean, it could be a top 4 seed easy, even top 3 seed. But I have to see Lonzo be healthy because I think he is just such a key component of that team. I'm not saying they can't win without him, but I'm saying they could just take that next step with him. So I am also going to take the over, and I really like Chicago.
I was a lot lower on I shouldn't say a lot, but I was the lowest on them out of anybody. And I think this is going to be the start of where I start to contradict myself from the standing videos. Because when you see it in front of you, the amount of wins, it's hard to, sit there. So I'm also going to take the over, but I could see a couple more injuries piling up for them and it going under. But I do like the chances of them winning at least 44 games. So I'll go over.
Yeah, you look at the Eastern Conference last year, 44 wins was literally the 9th seed on up. So, like, if that's the type of ceiling you're looking for, and again, anytime you are gambling, you always want to look for the best value on the board. And this is one of those that has some sneaky good value. And it's not necessarily that we think, like lock it in $1,000, $1 billion, like it's going to win you money. But it's one of those things. It's like that is value on the board that if you're smart, you could take a little bit advantage of. Not guaranteed it's going to win because it is gambling, but it is a very, very good bet in my eyes and in all of our eyes. So moving on, the Cleveland Cavaliers, another question mark in the Eastern Conference. Will they be great? Will they be decent? Will they, maybe stink it up a little bit? Their win prop is set at 47.5 wins. Fred, will roll straight to you. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to put a 2-point lock on this, and I think I'm going to put it on the over. I think they, if I'm not mistaken, they won 48 games last year, and they only got better. I mean, you look at you guys they brought in. Donovan Mitchell is going to be great. RJ Nimhard. I know we're not even talking about TCU kid. Would they have 44 wins?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so close.
Yep.
I mean, you got Ricky Rubio, Cedi Osman's still there. Like, you have good bench pieces, and of course, you have your stars. Darius Garland, I think, is going to be a star. You got Karis LeVert, and you got the prize possession, Evan Mobley, who I think is an absolute freakazoid. Can't wait to watch him play this year. Unfortunately, not on League Pass because it's blacked out, but that's another story. But I really like this Cleveland Cavaliers team. They're going to be a lot of fun this year, and I think they did a great job improving this team in the offseason. And like I've talked about in the awards video, I love JB Bickerstaff as a coach. So I think they win 48 and a half plus games. So I'm going to lock in that over, or 47 and a half, sorry, and hit that over.
Caleb?
This one's tough for me. This is probably one of the most tough out of all these teams here for me. I am going to go over. I'm not very confident in it just because I do think there's so many good teams in the East this year. And with a team like the Hawks, I expect to take a step up. And then like I don't have the Nets ahead of them either in my standings, just because with all these questions with the Nets. So I do see the potential to go under, but I will take the over slightly.
I am rolling with the under.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm just going with it.
It's not a bad bet.
I literally think they win 46 games. So I think it can go any way. Like if I had to put a number on it, it would be 46. And so with that, seeing 47 and a half, I get a game cushion, or 2 games rather, because they would have to win 2 more. So, I trust it, but it's one of those, man. I could see it going either way. The hook might get you on this one. Who knows, one way or the other. But yes, the Cavs, an exciting team. And again, none of us will probably be watching very much of it because of the old black route restrictions. But
I think I might be able to get them on YouTube TV. I might be able to sneak my way.
Let's go up to Cleveland this year and catch a game live. How about it?
We might have to. So moving on, Caleb's favorite teams. I'm going to go right to you, Caleb. It's the Mavericks. They're over under prop is set at 48 and a half wins. I'm interested to see where you guys go. So Caleb?
I'm going under, slightly under. There's a lot of questions for me. And it hurts me to go under. And I'm not confident in it. Like this Cavs, like as soon as I put over on the Cavs, I was like, I should have gone under. With this team, I'm going under, but I definitely could, if I sat here long enough, I could talk myself into over. But I'm going to go under.
Fred?
Yeah, I also took the under. I love the Christian Wood edition. If they can get him to buy in, I think they could easily win a lot of games. And of course, you got a top 5 player in the league in Luka. I just think teams just left them in the offseason and they just took a bigger leap than they did. And I think it's going to show in that win total. So I'm also going to take the under.
I'm on the over. I love the Mavericks this year. I think that they've really bought into what Luka is just going to bring to this team. They won 52 games last year, and I don't think they got worse. And that's the big thing. I think they only get better with Tim Hardaway Jr. getting healthy, a full season of a guy like Spencer Dinwiddie off the bench, my sleeper for 6th man of the year. I just really like this team a little bit more than I think both of you combined. I am like all in on this Mavericks team. I think they're fun to watch. They were awesome to watch throughout the playoffs. It seemed to click their style of basketball. Now, granted, if they don't make about 35 to 40% of their threes, they will probably lose a whole lot of games because they chuck them like nobody's business. But I believe in their shooters. I believe in getting Christian Wood if he can buy into that role. And I just really like this team, man. So I am rolling with the over 48 and a half. So moving on to the Nuggets. Again, I'm using one of my locks on the over. It's a 5-point lock for me on the 50 and a half wins. I'm hammering the over. I told you guys, the last video, I have personal money on this one. I love this Nuggets team. And when looking at the look ahead, it is stated that they have the easiest schedule in the NBA. When looking at it from just a naked eye, obviously there's no numbers that can go into that right now, so take it with a grain of salt. But there is some stats out there that say the Nuggets should have the easiest road this season. I'm all in on them just absolutely dominating the regular season. I foresee maybe even 60 wins. I think they're going to be that dominant this year. I just love their team. I love what they got rolling with health. I think that they crush this total, and it won't really even be much of a sweat. So, Caleb, I'll go to you.
See, that's the big question for me is if with depending on health. So I feel like I have a lot more questions than obviously us three and even like NBA media when it comes to the Nuggets. Like I'm a little bit more fearful, but even with that, I'm confident that Jokic, because I mean Jokic took them to the 6th seed last year, pretty much with a bunch of guys that you would really, sleep
48
on
wins
them.
last year. 48
Yeah.
wins.
Yeah. So I think as long as, Bones Highland take a big step up and, all these pieces they've added on top of Murray and Porter coming in, I'm going to go the over as well. I'm not going to lock it in though, just because the health is a big concern. And, I'm just not fully 100% confident that, these guys are going to look like they did before they got injured. So.
Okay, Fred.
I think they did a wonderful job building around their guy in Jokic. I mean, you bring in the draft Christian Braun, you got Bruce Brown, I mean, KCP, I mean, Aaron Gordon still got some in the tank. I think Jeff Gordon, Bones Highland, like and DeAndre Jordan, maybe. I hope Zeke Naji takes that jump. I love Zeke Naji coming out of Arizona a couple years ago, waiting for him. Even took a flyer in Peyton Watson at the end of the first. Maybe turns into something, maybe not. But I love this team. I'm hammering the over, absolutely. Not a lock, but I am gonna go with the over.
Jeff Gordon coming out of NASCAR retirement and joining the Nuggets.
Oh, did I say Jeff Gordon? It's because my brain just said Aaron Gordon.
I know. Oh, that's so funny.
We just thought it was.
I bet he good. Is that why y'all made that? I was like, I think Jeff Green's pretty good.
Yeah, I said Jeff Gordon. But moving on to the
long day, boys. I've stated that. It's been a long one.
It has. So moving on to the Pistons. This is probably the one that I'm like kind of confused about with the prop total. It's 29.5. I don't know if it's a sucker line. I don't know what it is. But it is 29.5. So I'm interested to see where you guys go. I sniffed some locks maybe floating around this one. I don't know which one, but I think I know. Caleb, what do you think?
Yeah, I locked them. I locked them in the over, but I only did my number 2 just because it's the Pistons. You can't be too confident. I've been smashing the over for the last couple of weeks. I got a guy at work that really big into gambling and into betting, and he was asking me. I was like, dude, if it's that low, just take it over just to be safe. I like them. I think they're a team capable of an exciting season. And if you recall from our Eastern Conference videos, I did have them higher than everybody else. I do think they're that fringe play-in, potentially last seed play-in team. I think it's going to be exciting. I think Cade, along with all these pieces they've brought in, because their offseason was really solid. Nerlens Noel, Bogdanovich, all these guys that they've added, I really like. And I'm confident, but not very confident. So I went over for my 2 lock.
Fred?
Yeah, I also went over on this team. I was a little bit more critical than you guys in the standings video, just because they're so young. I need time to see them gel, but that line's so low, I had to take the over. And I think they're just going to be another fun team to watch. They have so many young studs. I think they killed it in the draft and did a great job in free agency. So shouts out to the Pistons, taking the over.
I am too going with the over. I really like their team. And if we're foreseeing a few teams to buy into the Wembanyama sweepstakes, they're not going to be one of them because they got their young guys and they're going to want to start seeing some production. And I could see them winning at least 30 games, I would assume. Moving on, the defending champs who we will get to watch tonight, the Golden State Warriors. They're over under, and my God, their checkbook was out this weekend, paying Jordan Poole, paying Andrew Wiggins. But there was one man they did not pay, and that was the man that was in the media for absolutely sleeping his teammate, absolutely shutting the lights off of Jordan Poole, and that was Draymond Green. So interesting dynamic with the Warriors there. Their over-under is set at 52.5 wins. And Caleb, I will go to you.
How many games did they win last year?
They won 53.
Oh, this is so tough for me. I'll go over. Not very confident, but I will go over. I think, they still have the talent. Steph Curry's still going to be very good. Another year of Clay being solid. These young guys, I expected, really take a bigger leap this year. Jordan Poole is a odds-on favorite to win 6th man of the year. James Wiseman, if he can stay healthy, I think Steph Curry with a lob threat is very, very dangerous. So I'm going to go over. I can't lock it in, but I will go over.
Right.
Yeah, I also went over, man. I think this team's just going to get it better from last year. I mean, those young guys get another year under their belt, and then you have your big three up top. So I'm super excited to watch them play once again. Always just a fun team to watch. I mean, you have James Wiseman coming back from injury, which I hope he can stay healthy. I think that just gives them another tool to play with. And Angel Wiggins got paid. I'm sure he's happy. Jordan Poole got paid. So I think those guys come out with their pants on fire and do a lot of good things. So I'm going to take the over.
Yeah, I too am going with the over, even though they'll be one game behind because they will not win on ring ceremony night tonight. Fun fact for you. It's not a prediction. It's a spoiler. Okay, moving on. I am going with the over if you didn't hear that. But the Rockets over-under prop is set at 23.5 wins. Very, very low. I am going with the over, and then I'll pass it to Caleb because I know he really likes this Rocket team. And then we'll get it to another fanboy of one of the players on the Rockets, so Fred. So this should be good.
Yeah, I went over and I locked it in for my 4 spot. I think 23.5 games is just really low. I mean, obviously this team could, if they really wanted to, they could tank for Wembanyama to add to all these young pieces. I like the young pieces they have this year. I expect Jalen Green to have a really explosive season. Kevin Porter Jr. I expect all these guys to, play well and just be a very exciting team that goes out there and plays hard, that has a couple guys that are capable of exploding for big nights. So I went over and I'm going to lock it in at my 4 spot.
Brett?
Yeah, I'm going to lock it in as my 5. I just think that 23.5 is really low. And I love their young roster. Jalen Green, I think, is going to be a stud in this league. Kevin Porter got paid. I think that was a great signing for them to extend him. I think he has great basketball instincts and just an absolute freak on the court. I like Daishen Nix. I know Troy's not as high as I am on him. You bring in Jabari Smith. I thought was a home run pick, even though he looked rough in the preseason or in the summer league, but he's still, I think, going to do great things in the league. And a lot of people are high on St. John this year, and I couldn't agree more. So I think they win definitely above 23.5, and I'll lock it.
Yeah, so we all went over there. 2 locks on that one. The Pacers, however, they're over under set at 24.5 wins, and I am on the under. I think they're the worst team in the Eastern Conference. I think they're going to be a fire sale. I said it in the video. I think they're going to trade 5 players. I just think that this team, they don't want to be good, and I don't think they're going to be good. So, Fred, moving on to you.
Not a fun team. You have some pieces. Benedict Matherin's cool. Caleb loves him and, picked him as a rookie or chance to win Rookie of the Year this year. Just not a lot of stuff going on in Indiana, man. And I like Troy alluded to, I think they're going to trade a lot of pieces. So I'm going to go the under.
Caleb?
I really considered going over just because I think 24 wins or losing all those games is really tough. But I will agree with everybody here. I will go under. I just think because what sold me is the fact that they're more than likely going to trade half of their roster. And just let Benedict Mathurin and Tyrese Halliburton just, have a year of growing together and figuring things out. So not confidently I will go under just because I think 24 wins is like, if you go under that, you're just really, really, really bad. And I don't know if we've really seen a team be that bad skill wise in a long time, because I think this is like the skill in the NBA is the most we've seen probably ever. So I do think there's an opportunity to go over just slightly and still be the worst team, but I will go under.
All right. And we all went under on that one, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we all went under on that one. So moving on to the Clippers, I know a lot of people in this room are high on the Clippers roster, but the over-under is set at 52.5 wins. I'm interested to see where everybody goes. Fred?
I'll take the over on that. I love the Clippers team this year, man. You bring in John Wall, you got Paul George, you got a healthy Kawhi. Reggie Jackson's still there. Luke Kennard can shoot it. Terrence Mann looks good. You got these pieces. Nicholas Batum has shown he's still got a little bit left in the tank. This team's going to be super excited. I think they have good depth. And, of course, they have the star studs in Paul and Kawhi. So I think this team definitely hits that over. Easy 1-2 seed for me in the West.
Caleb?
I'm a hypocrite. I had them finishing number 1 in the standings. Now that I'm looking at the numbers, I'm a little fearful. I do think this team is going to be very, very scary, especially in the playoffs if they can stay healthy. But in the regular season, as we know, they rest Kawhi. They rest Paul George. I think John Wall will get some rest as well. I'm going to go under just slightly. I'm not confident in it. I do think they could be fun and exciting, even with those guys out. And I do think if there's a way they could figure out how to rest those guys, where Paul George rests one night and then Kawhi back and forth, where they're not resting at the same time, I would go over. But as we've seen, those two rest at the same times at some point. So I'll go under.
I also went with the under. I have them finishing top 4 in the West. Top 4 in the West last year finished with 52 wins. So I have them finishing around 50 to 52 wins, like you said. It's going to be tight, regardless of which way you go. So moving on to my Los Angeles Lakers, their win total prop is set at 44.5 wins. Last year, they won 33 games. So they would have to improve by about 12 wins for this to cash. So very, very intrigued. Fred, what do you say?
I'm going to go over. The depth is my question. Who's going to step up on the bench? And I hope they can find that to win over 44.5. But I mean, you have LeBron, you have Anthony Davis. I hope Russell can come out and do something. I love Dennis Schroeder coming back. Austin Reeves looks good. I love Cole Swider, another kid that I know Troy's really high on. So Lonnie Walker, absolute freak athlete. I can't wait to see how he fits in there. And Winnie Gabriel always finds a way on an NBA roster. So I'm going to take the over on 44.5. I think LeBron stays healthy this year, and so does Anthony, and they do a lot of good things.
Take it, Troy. Take it.
You want me to take it?
Yep.
I'm also going with the over. I just think that they're going to be more bought in this year. And I think that with that comes production, comes effort, comes I just think that, and I think that Anthony Davis is going to be more available. I think that he's going to play extremely well this year. I just think that they're a motivated bunch and they're really, really good. They have a lot of talent on that roster. So obviously, you have to hope it all pans out. But the talent is there. The coaching seems to be there. It just can't. Will they buy in and will they improve by 12 wins? Because that
if they do, Darvin Ham's winning coach of the year. Like let's
you think so?
That out. Yeah, I think a big story for coach of the year is improved wins from year to year. Yeah. Especially if it's his first year. Darvin Ham would be a lock for coach of the year, in my opinion. Fred, do I swerve to be petty or do I follow my heart?
Follow your heart always, buddy.
I'll go over. It hurts me.
Whenever they win tomorrow night, you boys should text me because I will be on cloud 9. Because
it's game 1, Troy. Slow your roll.
It hurts me so much. If I wasn't so confident that they're gonna make a big trade, then I would smash the under. But I do think LeBron re-signing is a key sign that they are going to trade. I just don't like that roster at this moment for this amount of wins, but you never know what they'll be able to pull off. So,
yeah. So moving on to the Grizzlies, their over/under is set at 49.5 wins, coming off of a 56 win season. It's weird to see that kind of drop. I'm on the under on this one. I just think it's too high. I have them as the 5th seed in the West. I just don't see them replicating 56 wins. And if they do, I think they're the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. I think that if they go over 56, they're going to go, to like 60, because I think that's obviously the next step for them. So Caleb, what do you think?
I'll go over, but not by a lot. 56 wins last year is a really, really great year. I do think this team is exciting. They're, in transition. They play really well together. And if Jaren Jackson Jr., when he comes back, can stay healthy, I do think they could be in a run for the number 1 seed. But I will go over.
Fred?
Yeah, I'm going to go under. I want to see Jaren Jackson get healthy. And I think the injury concerns every year is going to be high on Ja, because I think just the way he plays is going to really damage his body. Yeah. So the question mark for me is health, and I just think there's a lot of other teams in the West that I like more than the Grizzlies, and that 49.5 is really high. So I'm going to take the under.
Yeah. So the Grizzlies are another question mark. Like, what can they like? They could literally crush this, or they could fall short, and I don't think we'd all be surprised either way. So moving on to the Miami Heat, another team where their prop is set at 49.5 wins, and this is my 4-point lock on the under. I am not bought in on this Heat team. I have them finishing 8th in the Eastern Conference. I'm all out on this team. I don't think that they have the depth. I don't think that I think that if Jimmy Butler gets hurt, if Bam gets hurt, like, what are they? Like, they don't have a backup that can, like, that makes you at ease about losing one of those guys, either one of them. I think that Tyler Hero, while he can put the ball in the bucket, he's still, a liability on the defensive side of the ball. He can't keep anybody in front of him. Is he a head case? Like, does he even, like, Caleb alluded to, does he even want to be there? And yeah, while he signed that contract, dude, you're not going to pass up that money no matter who is paying the bill. I would take $140 million from a whole lot of people, and I don't necessarily have to like them, but I'll sign that contract if you're giving me $140 million. Yeah. So yeah, it's just one of those situations. I see a whole lot of question marks with that team. I'm not in on that team. I love their culture, love what Coach Spo's done, but I'm just not in on the Heat this year. Caleb?
I also went under. I think there's a strong possibility that Tyler Hero is going to start for them. Maybe not to start the season, but at some point. And I just don't know how he fits in with like a Jimmy and a Bam, because it's like he's going to want to get his shots up, and if not, he's going to be very unhappy. Kyle Lowry, if he can stay healthy, great, but I don't know if he can. Even Bam Adebayo, can Bam stay healthy? I do like this team. Don't get me wrong. Like, I went and watched them twice last year. And it's a fun environment. Miami's a great city. And it's just, there's just something that I can't put my finger on it exactly, but I'm not a fan of this team this year when it comes to this high of wins. Under.
Brett?
Yeah, I'm going to put the lock on the under, and I'm going to throw a 4 at it. Just didn't like what they did in the offseason, which wasn't much, and I think that was the problem. Like you said with Tyler Hero, does he want to be there? I love Tyler to death. Of course, he's a Kentucky kid. Got nothing but love for him. Bam, I think, is going to be a defensive menace, but outside of him and Jimmy, like, what kind of consistency are you going to get? What are you going to get from Kyle Lowry this year? I'm not sure. Too many question marks for me, so I'm going to lock that under.
You each have one more lock.
Indeed.
And
what point
Troy,
do I have? What is it?
You've got the 3 left.
And I have the 10.
Troy, I know where Troy's going for 10. It's so obvious. So obvious.
Moving on to the Bucks. 53.5 wins. Fred, what do you think, my man?
I'm going to take the over, man. I really like this Milwaukee team. Chris Middleton being out for the first couple of weeks kind of scares me, taking that over, but I still think you have the best player in the world. So, and you still kept your beautiful rotation around him, and it's just going to be another just easy, probably 1-2 seed for the Bucks. I think they'll be the 2 seed, but I think they definitely went over 53.5.
Yeah.
This one's not easy because 54 wins is a lot. They do have the best player in basketball right now. I could see them going under in cases of like resting Middleton or resting Holiday, guys that have been injured. But I will go over. I like this team a lot. They have the skill. And I do think one big thing that doesn't necessarily get slept on but gets overlooked is the signing of Joe Ingles. When he's healthy, he is going to be a great addition for this team. And he'll be taking, like, when he gets back, like, you got to think, like, he'll be taking the minutes of someone like Grayson Allen. You know what I mean? Like, someone that's out there that does he fit? Who knows? Joe Ingles can come in, spread the floor, play really well with these guys. I like it. I'm going to go over.
Or even like a guy like George Hill, where you're like, how in the world is that dude
exactly
minutes on a finals, like one of the best teams in the league? Doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I too am on the over, and for the reasons you guys already alluded to. So moving on to the Timberwolves, their over under is set at 48.5 wins. Fred, I'm interested to hear what you have to say on the Timberwolves.
As much as I want the experiment to work between Cat and Gobert, I think it's going to be an adjustment period, and I'm going to take the under. I do still think they'll make the playoffs, but I do take the under at 48.5. Just too much for me. I hope Anthony Edwards takes that next step. Of course, he's had his off the court issues as well, so we'll see how that goes. Love the addition of Kyle Anderson, but I just think, again, that 48.5 is just too high for me. I'll take the under.
Caleb?
Yeah, we were very critical of the Timberwolves in our Western Conference preview. I do think there's a chance where this is like a really good regular season team, and then when it gets to the playoffs, they're just going to be absolute dog poop. But even still, as many people as I've surprisingly heard be a little more high on them in the regular season, I'm not sold, and I just don't like it. I'm going under.
Yeah, I'm all over the under. If I didn't like the one team I have in mind for the 10, and I didn't like all these other ones, this would be another lock of mine. Like I'm just not sold on them. Karl Anthony Towns running around the perimeter trying to guard people is going to be absolutely comedy. There's going to be a whole lot of memes that surface about him just running around frantically trying to find his man. I've already seen one from a preseason game. So I think of this team, they acquired one of the best defensive players in basketball in terms of protecting the rim and rebounding, and they'll be one of the worst defensive teams in basketball.
It's weird though. It's weird though, because they'll be like Rudy Gobert will block shots. Cat can definitely block shots as well. So it's like they'll be good defensively, but also horrible defensively. Like it's so weird.
Do you think they try running the zone?
Even still, good luck.
I think it'd be tough to run a zone because then you could just put a guy in the middle and you can drag Gobert or Cat. I guess the NBA, and with the 3 in the key, like it's not like you can just kind of defensive 3 seconds in the key. You can't even hover your bigs down there. Like they still have to be mobile, and it'll
be interesting to see. I mean, it's something to definitely keep an eye on.
It'll be like a car crash. It'll be a car crash so bad you can't look away.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. So moving on to the Pelicans, their over/under set at 45 wins. So Caleb, what do you think?
This one was very on top. Other than the Cavs, this was a really tough one for me. Mavs were set at 48.5. I went under. I have the Pelicans right underneath them in the standings. So I'll go under. I'll go under just slightly. I do think this team has the potential to be a really good regular season team with all these defensive pieces they have on top of Brandon Ingram and Zion. But I will go under, but not confidently.
Fred?
I think they're going to be one of the best defensive teams in the league. You have Herb Jones, you have guys like Jose Alvarado. Even Zion's proved that he can do things on the defensive end, especially blocking shots. And if they can stay healthy, and I'm banking on they do, because I'm gonna take the over on this. I think the Pelicans' big 3 is really is going to be really tough to stop, especially when they're all healthy and Ingram, Zion, and CJ. So super excited for this team, and I'm going to take the over.
I too am on the under. I have them being one of the most disappointing teams in basketball this year, even though I think they make the playoffs. I have them finishing 9th. I'm just not as high on them as some. Even though I love Brandon Ingram. That clip I sent you guys the other day, man, yeah. That almost made me emotional. But anyway, moving on to the Knicks, the over-under is 38.5 wins. I was telling the boys before we hopped on, I was all over the Knicks last year. I thought their win total prop was free money. I was screaming from the rooftops. I was like, what in the world is this win total? And they blew up. So 38.5 wins is still not a high total at all. So I'm interested to hear, Fred, the closet Knick fan, where are you rolling?
I'm going to take the under. I think this team is my too many question mark teams. I feel like their whole roster is just a big question mark at every single player, even at the top with Jalen Brunson and RJ and Randall, the 3 lefties. What are you going to get from Julius? What are you going to get from Jalen Brunson? RJ Barrett? I don't know. Their bench is fun, I guess, has some exciting pieces. And I think Mitchell Robinson, obviously their starting 5, I think is an absolute stud, but just way too many question marks with guys like Obi and Cam Reddish. I can't do it, man. I'm going the under. I think they have a really bad season.
Kill?
Under. I think there's too many, like Fred said, there's too many questions for me, especially on the defensive end. Starting 2 guards that are smaller and Emmanuel Quickly and Jalen Brunson. I think it's going to hurt you in the long run. Too many questions. I'm not the craziest about Julius Randle's game either, so I'm going to go under.
Yeah, there's literally two teams in the Eastern Conference that I would be like the New York Knicks are better than with ultimate confidence, and that is the Indiana Pacers and Orlando Magic. Those are the only two teams I would say with ultimate confidence that they are better than, and even the Magic. I'm like, are they? Are they though? So it's
I
interesting.
could give them a run.
Yeah, they could give them a run for their money. So I'm going with the under as well. The Oklahoma City Thunder, who I am sporting today. I have no idea why. I just saw it and had to wear it. So their over-under is 24 wins. I'm interested to see where you guys go. Caleb, what do you think?
24 wins. It's difficult. Like I said with the Pacers, give me the over just slightly because I do think they do want to be bad. And they definitely have the skill and the potential to do so. But I do think at some point you're going to have, there's no excuse that you're going to have to let Josh Giddey and Shea out there and win you a couple games. Cause we've seen Shea's so good. And if I could go on and on, so I'll stop here. I'm going over just slightly.
Right.
Under, just not a good roster. Outside your big three in quotation marks, Shea, Josh, and Lou Dort.
Lou Dort.
I love Lou Dort to death. Of course, I love Shea, and I think Giddey's a great guard. But Trey Mann's cool, but just so young and just
I love
again.
Trey Mann.
They have three guys on their team with last name Williams. That's cool, but I think Jalen Williams, the one not from Arkansas, his college is losing my mind. Freaking Santa Clara. Yeah, I think that kid's gonna be an absolute stud. But again, they're just super young. I'm taking the under. I don't think they win 24 games, which is kind of crazy to say, but they're just horrific, man. Especially with Chet out too. Oof.
I'm on the over 24 wins. They won 24 last year, and I think they're a better team. I think if Shea plays at least 50, 55 games, I don't think they're as bad as people think. I have them finishing 13th, which obviously isn't great, but I can see them finishing above the Rockets. And
their goal in mind is to finish that low. If they were just if they didn't have tanking in mind, I really think this is a team that could sneak into the play-in. Just because those young guards are exciting and are tough, they're tough.
It's a tough Trey Mann. I just love that kid.
Also. And you got to think they're looking at, oh my God, if we get Victor Wembanyama, Shea at the 1 or Josh at the 1, 6'7", Shea at the 2, 6'6", Lou at 6'4", and then Chet and Poku. Victor.
Chet and Poku, yeah.
Poku off the pine, dude. They got. I like their roster, man. Call me crazy. I'm gonna have fun watching them.
They're just so young, dude.
I think I just talked myself into throwing $20 on the over. Go Thunder, go. So another bad team, the Magic. Their over/under prop set at 26.5 wins. I am on the under, and I will pass it to Caleb.
This one surprised me. I thought you would go over. I'm going over. I think they have a bunch of young pieces that are exciting. Wouldn't surprise me if they win 20 games. Wouldn't surprise me if they win 31 games. I just think it's a team that sure they could tank and get Wembanyama, but look at the pieces they have now. And as great as Wembanyama is, it's does he fit with what you're doing right now? Not necessarily. So I don't think their goal in mind right now is to tank. I could see them being like a Cleveland Cavaliers type from a few years ago where they were supposed to be really, really bad. First 15 games of the season came out, had, excited some people. But I could see them crashing after that. So I think potentially hot start very quickly, the rest of the league catching up to them. I'll go over.
I went the under. Just they have some exciting pieces. Of course, they had the first pick and got Paulo, which I think is a stud. But just another team that's so young for me, and I don't think it's hard to win in this league with youth. So I'm going to take the under.
All right, moving on to actually a very, very good basketball team, the 76ers. Their over/under prop is set at 50.5 wins. I am on their over.
Mm-hmm.
And Fred, I'll pass it to you because I know how much you love the 76ers.
Yeah, it's a lock, and I'll throw my last one, my 3 at them. I think they win that over with ease. I think they're the best team in the NBA. Joel Embiid's my MVP pick. Tyrese Maxey's a freak. James Harden looks like he's in shape. Tobias Harris, they brought in Montrezl Harrell. Even Daniel House, who I like as a pro. Just Shake Milton coming off the bench. Gorgeous Niang has showed he's a great pro. So this team is full of just studs, and I think they're the most star-studded, and they have the best odds, in my opinion, to have the best record in the NBA. So I'm going to take the over.
Caleb?
Over. Not much else I can add. I've heard them number one in the East. Just I'm all in for one last time on 76ers and the way James Harden looked this offseason. So I'm going to go over.
So the Phoenix Suns are next. Their over-under prop is 52.5 wins. I am all over the under. I'm just not a fan of this team. I don't like their culture. I don't like their mindset. Fred, what do you think?
Under. Way under. I think they disappoint this year really bad. I think they have a bad season. I think Chris Paul's gonna be a shell of himself this year. Michael Bridges is cool. I love Devin Booker. I don't think Ayton wants to be there. Under.
I definitely gave this more thought than it seems either one of you two did, but ultimately I did go under. I do think they have the talent to where like Devin Booker, Michael Bridges, and DeAndre Ayton, and even Chris Paul, like at points of the season, I do think they have the talent to stay atop. But I think I had them finishing like fourth or fifth in the West just because you can't sleep on the talent they have given all this stuff that's been going on nonetheless. But I will go under as well.
All right. So did we all go under?
Yep.
We all go under with the Suns. So now we move on to the Trail Blazers. Their win total prop is set at 39.5 points. Caleb, what do you think?
This is a lock for me. It's my 3. I went the under. I just don't think this team's very good, even with all their pieces. In a West that's just getting better and better every year. This team has not. So I went under. I locked it in at 3.
Fred?
The roster's not bad. You got Damian. You brought in Jeremy Grant. Gary Payton's cool. Yusuf Nurkic is still there. I'm going to hit the under, though. Just outside of, your star. Just not an exciting roster, in my opinion. Yeah, you had some cool free agent signings, but just not enough for me to put them over 40 wins. So I'm going to go under.
I, too, am on the under. Moving on to the Kings.
Go ahead, Troy. Go ahead.
Everybody's been waiting on the 10-point lock of mine. And here it is.
Yep.
Here it is. The Kings over 34.
That's such a low win total.
Wins. I love this win prop. I think I have them finishing the 7th seed in the Western Conference. And in my eyes, even if they finish the 10th, this win prop cashes. And I like the odds of them making into the upper echelon of the Western Conference this year in terms of the upper echelon being the play-in.
Okay.
Because that is the upper echelon for them. The playoffs is the upper echelon. They haven't been so long. The drought will be over, Sacramento Kings fans, this season. Book it. They'll win a game in the play-in game, and will move on to play the Golden State Warriors in the first round and get absolutely rocked. But they will make it. They will cash this win total with ease. 10-point lock. Just go ahead, Caleb, and put my points. Put down 10 points already for me because it's a lock. Fred?
Yeah, I'm gonna go over as well. I really like this roster. I think they make some noise, and like you said, they end that drought. I'm super excited to watch some Sacktown games this year.
Yep.
I locked it in at my last spot, and that is the 5. I have the Kings. I just think this team defensively, like I watched some preseason highlights. That team defensively is going to be actually kind of scary. So I agree with you, and I've got the over.
We're passing around 3 points, Fred. You didn't even join us. Do what?
My locks are up, bro. I'm good.
Hey, the year you're not so high on your Sacramento Kings is the year we swoop in, and we are.
How am I? Whoa. I gave them the over. I put them in the playing game. Don't act like I'm not.
I just remember the years prior, you were like, dude, this team's it. And now that we're all in on them, you're kind of you're 5 toes in. But moving on to the San Antonio Spurs, 22.5 wins is their prop. I think it's the lowest on the board. Caleb?
This one's difficult for me because, like I've said with these other bad teams, like 22 games is so low. But if I do see anybody being that low, it is oddly the Spurs. Given, it's a good organization. Pop. I don't want this to be Pop's last year being this bad, but it seems like it might be. I will go under, but I could see them getting 23 wins just to really screw with me. So,
Fred.
Yeah, I go under as well. I think they're the worst team in the NBA.
I too went under. There was 2 teams in the NBA last year that went under 22 wins, and I think they are one this year. So moving on to the Raptors, they're over. This is another team, man, that's just so confusing to me. They're over under set at 46. I am on the under. Caleb?
Another team, very difficult. I love Scotty Barnes. Love Scotty Barnes. I love the pieces they have. I don't love Siakam, and he's still like their number one guy, oddly enough. 46 wins to me is a lot. For a team like this. I don't know. I keep going back and forth. Give me the over just slightly. Give me 47.
Fred?
I'm gonna go slightly under here, man. I really like Toronto's roster. Of course, we're huge fans of Scotty Barnes over here. I love OG Anunoby. Not so high on Pascal, but so that's why I'm gonna take the under. I think they're just a little bit behind a lot of the other teams in the East.
So moving on to the team that I believe is actually going to end up being the worst team in the NBA, call me crazy, is the Utah Jazz. And I am on their under. And Caleb?
Under. Just nothing exciting. They're going to get rid of Mike Conley. They're probably going to get rid of Jordan Clarkson. Just nothing. Just nothing exciting. If I didn't watch a single Jazz game all year, I wouldn't be upset. So under.
Fred?
Yeah, under as well. I think they have some cool pieces, but I also think they're probably going to trade a lot. So, and of course, they're definitely in rebuild mode. And I think they're just too high for me, the 25 and a half. I think they probably win in the teens. Same with the San Antonio Spurs. Just the teen wins.
Yeah, they're weird teams, man. I could see them having literally nobody that was in a Utah Jazz jersey last year on their team by deadline season.
Yeah.
Moving on, the last team here, the Washington Wizards, another absolute question mark. I'm just going with the under. I've tossed and turned on this one. This has honestly been the hardest team for me because at first I was like, man, they could be sneaky good. But then I just completely talked myself out of it. I'm like, no way. The Washington Wizards have always been bad. They're always going to be bad. It is what it is. So Caleb, what do you think?
Do we know how many wins they had last year?
I can find it in about 2 seconds. 35.
Oh man, 35. I'll go over just slightly. I don't think they'll make a playoff run. I don't think anything like that. I do think they'll hit a spurt at some point of the season where they rattle off a few wins and they look like they're going to hit the play-in game or the play-in tournament. But I'm not confident. I would love for them to prove me wrong and go way over, but I'm just going to go slightly over.
Brett?
Just not a fan of this roster at all. Of course, you have Bradley Beal, and can Kristaps stay healthy or even be a shell of himself? Who knows? Just not a fan at all of them. Kyle Kuzma's cool. Can Denny Avdija stay healthy? I don't know. I'm hitting the under on them as well. Just, again, another team with a lot of question marks, man. What are we going to get from the Washington Wizards? Don't have much culture there. Taking the under.
All right, man. There you have it. All the NBA teams over under props we have dove in. If you happen to trail any of them, let us know down below. Fred, get us out of here.
Hey, man, thank you guys so much for watching this another NBA edition video. Have an absolute blast talking basketball. Get ready because the season starts tonight. Super excited for a long, luxury-filled NBA season. We love you guys. Don't be a star. Don't be a superstar. Be an X factor. Play some defense. God bless. Peace out.